Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. On behalf of the ISKCON Ministry of Education, we'd like to welcome everyone to this conversation today. This is part of the Books Are the Basis Week 2024. And again, this year also we have a discussion with different ISKCON leaders, different devotees about the importance of reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And today's session is on reading retreats. And we will, in a moment, find out what is a reading retreat. And I'm very delighted and honored to be the host or the moderator for this session. We have wonderful guests with us. We have here, first of all, His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vaisheshika Prabhu, of course, doesn't require too much introduction. He's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He joined the movement in 1973 when, as a young man, he was searching for God, and a friend gave him the Back to God magazine. He joined the San Francisco Temple, became a full-time devotee, and basically the last 50 years has dedicated his life in Srila Prabhupada's mission, traveling, lecturing, counseling devotees. He's also the leader of ISKCON Silicon Valley, a wonderful community that has been developed over the years. And Prabhuji is also the author of this book, Our Family Business, and of course a great inspiration behind book distribution in ISKCON. Over the years, several very successful international initiatives have been started by Prabhu, and in this way increased book distribution globally. And Vaisheshika Prabhu also serves as an initiating spiritual master, so it's a great honor to have your association. Then
Thank you so much.
we have with us His Grace Navina Nirada Prabhu, also a well-known person in our movement. He joined ISKCON in 1984 in Zurich, Switzerland. And he has been one of ISKCON's leading book distributor for many, many years, or decades, we have to say. He's a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, and is traveling also globally, inspiring devotees in Krishna consciousness, giving different seminars, lectures, and of course also on outreach and book distribution, but not only, but also. And is still a distributor of books, great inspiration for many of us. So thank you also for joining. And then
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. And then also we have Gopal Champu Prabhu with us. Gopal Champu Prabhu also, we will hear, he also participates in the reading retreats, and he joined ISKCON in 2015 and in the famous New York City Harinam Ashram. We all know the glories of these amazing initiatives. In New York, there's a lot of book distribution going on, and Harinam, so Prabhu joined that ashram, served as a full-time book distributor for, I think, 6-7 years till 2021, then changed his ashram, and today he serves as a Sankirtan leader and the vice president of ISKCON New York City. So thank you also for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
Thank
and my name is Krishna Prem Rupadas. I'm serving here at ISKCON Zurich, Switzerland, and I'm serving also in the ISKCON Ministry of Education, specifically for this program, The Books Are the Basis. And yeah, let's jump into the discussion. I'm curious to learn more about this reading retreat, because in ISKCON we know there's many retreats. Here in Switzerland we have soon the Bhakti retreat, there is the Japa retreat, but we are talking about a reading retreat. And that's something, yeah, I find it fascinating that we also have reading retreats. And I don't know whether Vaisheshika Prabhu wants to start explaining a little bit about how did it actually start? What was the idea behind it? When did it start and how it was developed? The idea of coming together, especially in a holy place in Govardhan, in Vrindavan, and just reading together for hours and hours. Would you like to share a little bit about the start of this?
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. Thank you very much. I started going deliberately to Kartik about 23 years ago. And a godbrother had inspired me once and said, well, you shouldn't miss it. So I started going, and I found that that month was a good time to stay in one place and study. And I started by living at the Goshala in Vrindavan. and I would just spend the day hearing and chanting. And then a friend of mine invited me to come out to Govardhan, and we used to have an informal meeting on the roof. And some devotees would come, just a few. It was outside, so it was a little noisy. And of course, we were subjected to the weather. And as we continued to just spend time hearing from Prabhupada's books on the roof, it got a little more formalized because devotees realized that we were doing it every year. It happened for a few years in a row. And then the proprietor of the Govardhan ashram invited us to come down into a room. And he gave me a room to conduct the hearing and chanting in. And from there it grew so that it took more form and shape, a regulated schedule, and it's grown over the years so that now devotees from various places come, and we've expanded the scope of it so that in the courtyard outside of the room, we have speaker systems and a television so people can see the reading going on inside. And we also, as we've done for a while, we broadcast it. The reading takes place 2.5 hours in the morning and 2.5 hours after lunch. And then the rest of the time, the devotees who are there, who come specifically for the retreat, stay in the ashram, and we hear and chant together at the morning program, and then for Damodar Ashtakam. And some devotees live outside and then just come for the retreat. That's the thumbnail sketch of what it is.
Okay, so that means serious 5 hours of reading together daily.
That's right.
Yeah, and it kind of just naturally grew over the years. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Naveen and Nirda Prabhu, how did you join this reading club? Or when did you start the first time joining this retreat?
I don't recall the exact year when I started participating, but as we all know, life can get a little crazy, even as aspiring devotees, especially if you're a preacher, a book distributor, or a leader. Then there's a lot on your plate, and sometimes our personal sadhana, especially study, and taking association, taking guidance from senior devotees may not be at the optimum level. So when I heard about this and I visited, I decided that I want to be part of this. This is very good association, and yeah, since then I think I haven't missed a year. I can't always participate in the full schedule because I was taking courses in Mayapur, which start like at the later part of Kartik, but I try to put in as much of that reading retreat as I possibly can, and it's been very, very beneficial. We also do parikrams in the morning. There's full morning program. Different devotees give class, and there's a lot of time for association and just absorbing the spiritual sound vibration. So I'm looking forward to this occasion every year, because during the year we're very busy with our own services. Sometimes for those of us who are traveling preachers, we have to give a lot of talks. It's not always easy to take association and to hear classes. So this gives a very good opportunity to just fully soak in the transcendental nectar of Srila Prabhupada's teachings.
Yeah. And it takes place the whole month of Kartik, or what is the... Yeah, it's the whole month.
Yes, generally that's the schedule, with a few minor exceptions. Sometimes lately I've been invited to do a little parikram activity the first few days of Kartik, and then we come. But we generally dedicate anywhere from 25 days to 30 days or more just for the everyday reading.
Wow. So 25 days or more every day, 5 hours. I mean, that's quite an...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a serious commitment also. Gopal Champu, probably you like to share your experiences. When did you join the first time this retreat? Or
Yeah, so for me, I had seen the retreat for the first time online, and my love of Prabhupada's books started from my beginning of Krishna consciousness, where I received the Bhagavad Gita, and then my Guru Maharaj, His Grace Vaisheshwar Prabhu, he gave me an instruction that I focus on. One of the important missions in my life was to read Prabhupada's books thoroughly and repeatedly. Oh. And so when I found out about this retreat, I thought I have to go there. And so in 2017 was the first year that I attended. And it was amazing. From the first retreat, I felt like you were in like a rocket ship, getting ready to launch off, where, for hours a day, you were there and just strictly hearing Prabhupada's books. Now, because I was doing Harinam for 6 hours a day, it was kind of just like a transition now to hearing Prabhupada's books for 6 hours a day. So it was a nice time. And throughout the years, I've taken on service at the retreat to help devotees get settled into the Dham. And what I like to think of, meditate on, is on Shivananda Sena, who would do that, arrange for devotees when they were coming to the Dham, because it is a lot. Devotees are coming from all over the world. They're coming to a place in the middle of nowhere, you can say, in one sense, and so much trouble they're taking to come there. So what's very nice at the ashram is that Sikh Krishna Maharaj and the devotees there, they provide a very nice facility where devotees don't have to think about the prasadam they're going to take, and they don't have to worry about any other services. You can just come there and focus on hearing and chanting for, that period of time that they're there. And I found that my life has been very impactful, and I've seen devotees that have come there be transformed throughout just the course of that one Kartik, where, at the beginning they came and maybe it was like their first time in India. Multiple times I've seen, and then by the end of the retreat, they wanted to take on the process of Krishna consciousness fully, and they want to take initiation, just from attending that reading retreat.
Mm-hmm. I like the point you made. Like, usually you're standing 5-6 hours on the street distributing books, and now you're sitting and hearing about Prabhupada's books. So, and I see that also with Vaisheshika Prabhu and Navina Nirda Prabhu, both very stalwart book distributor, but at the same time very much emphasizing the importance of strong sadhana also, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that connection is very important in sense of, if you want to distribute books, you should also have a strong sadhana. Maybe Vaisheshika Prabhu, you like to share something on this, in the sense of what is the importance of devotees immersing themselves for so many hours, so many days? I guess the idea is to really give them an experience of having a strong sadhana, right? Which they can take back then to their places.
Yeah, definitely. Navina Prabhu is one of the great examples in ISKCON. You can always find him before Mangalartik, finishing his rounds, and then whenever you catch him anywhere alone, he's reading one of Prabhupada's books. He's gone through the Bhaktivedanta exams before anybody did, practically. And then he dedicates the rest of his time to going out and distributing books. And I see that as an ideal lifestyle. If you're able to have that kind of work where you just stay absorbed all day long in either reading or distributing, then you're enveloped in the internal energy. And it's something that Prabhupada encouraged me early on, around 1974 in San Francisco, when a group of us met Srila Prabhupada in his room. And we were discussing how our party was going on book distribution. And Prabhupada very pointedly said to us, "You must also read my books. I've not written them just for selling." He said, I want you to read my books, become pure devotees, and go back to Godhead. And it was stern, the way he said it. So it went right to our hearts that that's what he wanted us to do. So I've always considered it to be a very bona fide type of sadhana. Sometimes there's a sense of, well, class was already done. It was 45 minutes. But how much do you get to actually hear? everything's good. Every class is excellent. Even if it's a 5-minute class, it has a great impact when you're doing focused hearing in the Association of Devotees. But then I also got the idea of when Prabhupada said, I want you to read all my books, that, you know, it could take a few lifetimes if you do 5 minutes or 45 minutes a day to read Prabhupada's books. But what if you tried to read all of them in a scheduled way? And part of that is just getting used to reading and hearing for a longer period of time. I've found it extremely helpful to spend time exclusively just for hearing Prabhupada's books. And I've never felt guilty about it because Prabhupada specifically said it so strongly, even during the era, 1970s and early 80s, when there was such a bent towards go out and work, more distribution. And I just had Prabhupada's admonition about you have to read my books in my ears and heart. So I knew that it was okay, and it was okay to take liberties and find time to read for longer periods of time. And nobody's ever tried to stop us from doing that because it's an unassailable activity. It's like, don't read so much. Like, sorry. Can't help you on that one.
It's interesting because in the Japa retreats, we do similar thing. You know, we have an experience of chanting more rounds, like a 64-round day, we chant 64 rounds. It's an amazing experience. And then when we go back in our day-to-day life, maybe our 16 rounds seems to be, you know, it's more easier to do that. So I guess similarly, if you read a lot, then to read 20 minutes or half an hour a day, even in your busy schedule, should be possible. Yeah.
So true. So true.
Any thoughts from Navina Nirada or Gopal Champu on this point?
Yeah, well, you can only give what you got. If we're not walking the talk, then actually we're hypocrites, because we're telling people this would be good for you, give you peace of mind. You know, books and yoga meditation teaches you how to get free from stress. But am I free from stress? Do I have peace of mind, or am I going crazy? Now, of course, we may say I'm going crazy for Krishna because I'm doing whatever I'm doing to please Krishna. At the same time, we have to walk the talk, and that is being a humble servant and follower of Srila Prabhupada, following the Acharya, our founder Acharya. He got up every night at midnight and translated 6 pages. And it took him a couple of hours, sometimes several hours, to do so. So that was his sadhana. For those of us who lived in the era of constant marathons, we had 5 marathons back in the day per year. I have 5 marathons a year. So it can come to a point where we kind of miss that intensity, that samadhi, that exclusive absorption, where we're fully dedicated to one single-minded goal, hearing and chanting about Krishna. And as Vaisheshika Prabhu pointed out, sometimes the class is nice, it's a good start, but then you want to keep going. And so to have that facility, that liberty to just exclusively hear Prabhupada's books is a lifesaver. It's very much important. And I would like to see this type of reading retreats happening regularly, regionally, wherever devotees are. When we actually gain that taste, that affinity for hearing and chanting, then we can't live without it. It just becomes our way of life. And we're looking for the opportunity, and we create association according to our taste. And that is a very healthy, it has helped me a lot in my Krishna consciousness, because I could spend time with my mentors, my friends, and what Gopal Champu Prabhu described. I could see, and we always see it better in others, the transformation taking place of a new person who steps into this environment and just becomes mesmerized by Krishna's all attractive qualities. So that gives a lot of faith, that gives a lot of courage and a lot of conviction that yeah, it's worth the little hardship, the the little extra effort to make this gift, this offering available to others.
Thank you. Gopal Champu, probably you like to add something on this topic?
Yes, I was thinking the other day I read in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada said in one purport, he said, repetition of something is necessary in order that we understand the matter thoroughly without error. So I was thinking the importance of hearing Prabhupada's books again and again is that the philosophy of Krishna consciousness becomes so thick, so solidified in our consciousness that then we won't waver according to the whims of the mind. So just hearing, the repetition again and again, and then going to this retreat and being very purposeful with hearing Prabhupada's books for hours a day is kind of like an osmosis that happens. The consciousness, starts to transform, and we start to think. It's interesting. I've had this experience many times where hearing Prabhupada's books again and again, sometimes you'll be listening to a purport and you can almost foresee what's the next word, what's the next thought that Prabhupada is going to bring up. So I just think it's very nice when we can get in that you can say that stream of consciousness is like we're kind of entering into that realm that Prabhupada is dictating this knowledge from. And one thing that His Grace Vaisheshwar Prabhu always mentions at the retreats is that I know that in my life I won't be able to write as many books as Srila Prabhupada wrote, with that intensity where he wrote them, but I can at least try to read the books with as much intensity that he wrote them. So I think that's a good meditation to have, that Srila Prabhupada was so purposeful and invested the best time of his day every single day to put this knowledge out for us. And then the least we can do as his followers is try to read with that much intensity as well.
Beautiful point. As an expression of gratitude also towards Prabhupada. Yeah. I'd like to talk a little bit about the unique dynamics that the group reading bring. I mean, I can imagine, it's one thing if you sit alone in your room and read. It's another thing if you sit in a room with many people, many devotees, and you read together. Would you like to talk about this, like the kind of the dynamics or the spirit that comes, or the benefits also from reading together? What are the benefits of reading in a group and compared to reading alone? Any thoughts on that?
Sure. Should I say?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
First of all, I love reading alone. I like to sit in my chair and put a do not disturb sign up and just feel the serenity of being with Prabhupada, because I feel like he's directly speaking to me through his books, and it's a really nice meditation. I also love reading in a group, and one of the benefits is that you get the collective realizations of the devotees there. And I've found it again and again that when I go into that group reading and we do pause for discussion, we're careful not to let it slide off into unlimited discussion, because oftentimes it goes off into many branched ideas. And we actually keep it as a sadhana. So we try to keep up a certain number of pages a day. We have a set goal. We're going to finish, for instance, last year we did the whole fourth canto all the way through. So we know how many pages we have to read every day, but we do have discussion. And during that discussion, because devotees have unique realizations and they're also in practicing Krishna consciousness, so many times I've felt that from these discussions, I'm sustained throughout the year with the realizations I've gotten from other devotees. Devotees may have been reading from other places, and then they reference what Prabhupada's saying in a particular place that I never thought of. And it gives that extra dimension to the process. And I guess finally, not completely finally, there's many things to say, but what I'll say for now is just the experience of being together in the room and noticing that the other devotees really enjoy sitting there hearing. There's a way that the dynamic of that, there's people out in the courtyard that some of them have flown in from other parts of the world just to be there to sit and hear. And others are cramming into the room, even if it's hot and they're crowded in. And it makes me think, wow, this is really valuable. Look how these devotees have come just to hear Prabhupada's books. My mind saying it must be very special if we're going to this amount of trouble to do this.
Thank you for sharing. And I like your point that you also like to read alone, because certainly there is also benefits on personal study. But yeah, the collective kind of realization that are shared certainly.
Yeah, I just add one other little point, and that is that it doesn't have to be at Govardhan. It is ideal in a holy place. And we do find Govardhan to be special because it's sequestered, we're sequestered there, and it's a little out of the orbit of, like in Vrindavan, there's so many things going on, so we sort of hide out there. But you can do this anywhere. If you plan ahead, and whatever region of the world you're in, you create a safe house where you have to have a password to get in, because you're going to go in there to read and hear and chant, or you set up the circumstances just to hear Prabhupada's books and discuss them. The same magic happens everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Other comments on this topic of benefits of group reading?
Yeah, it's like Sankirtan, that Krishna manifests himself in the association of the devotees who are sincere in their intent to hear and chant about him, like in the house of Srivas Thakur, Srivas Sangam, or in other events where the devotees have one exclusive purpose. Then through their dedication and their sincerity, they attract Krishna's presence. I've seen it happen inevitably every single time that we sit down and we get into the zone. And then, as it was mentioned, we can keep that momentum going throughout the year and want to experience that sacred space with just being exclusively with Prabhupada's teachings. I feel the 80-20 formula is really good, that we kind of keep in our forefront 80% hearing from the books and 20% sharing or discussion. I think it's a good formula, because when it goes the other way around, it can kind of go all over the place. And then sometimes the focus is a little bit blurred. So, and that also helps that there are senior devotees who keep it on track, who kind of guide the process. Shushu Shoshabdadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtani Sevana. So when we're giving our attention, our heart to this process of hearing about Krishna, because we understand that this is one of the 9 angas, Shravanam. This is the first of the devotional activities. So it's not a passive thing. And that Krishna gives a lot of realization. There's a lot of realization and a lot of taste. And that's just something that stays with us, that we want to experience every day of our lives. That should be the goal of the retreat. So now, whether I'm in Trinidad at the moment or wherever it might be, Timbuktu, I want to be in that spirit, in that mood, in that mindset. So, and I know it's available if I pick up one of Prabhupada's books and I just immerse myself in it. And then naturally the conclusion will be, well, how can I share this taste with others? How can I communicate this to others by giving them books, by giving them a little bit of my time and my attention? How can I be part of Prabhupada's meditation? Because that's just where I would like to be.
Thank you. Powerful point. The more taste we develop ourselves, the more we develop a natural desire to share it with others. Yeah.
One thing that I see that's very impactful, especially with the reading retreat in Govardhan, and again, as Naveen Prabhu and Vaisheshwar Prabhu mentioned, can be done in other places, is especially when it's like you have the brand new bhakta and you have, the devotees who have been serving for 50 years, all in the same room. This goes to the group reading and relishing Prabhupada's books. It's like the experience I had was just observing, the devotees who have been reading Prabhupada's books for 3, 4, 5 decades, and how they're still relishing them, and how there's no end to it. So I think being in that environment and coming in the association of devotees that do have a taste for reading Prabhupada's books, it's a very powerful experience. And then we can carry that with us, and knowing that we have that available to us at any time. We have Prabhupada's books in our homes, and if you want to get transported to that, you could say that realm, you can do it anytime. And I've, just so that's what that group reading really does. I feel that coming together with that intention to exclusively hear Prabhupada's books, you start to develop a taste and the relish, and because you see others also relishing it, so it just kind of rubs off on you.
The nice point, as a young devotee, you see seniors, they have maybe read the Bhagavad Gita, I don't know, 100 times, but they're still relishing, like the Gita. And of course, the more we advance, the more we enter or get a chance to realize deeper aspects of Prabhupada's teachings. Nice point. Vaisheshika Prabhu, you mentioned that, of course, it doesn't require to be at Govardhan. It can be in any place. Of course, the holy place, I'm sure the holy place, there is a certain dynamic to be in a holy place. Wouldn't you say that reading with devotees at a holy place gives a special mercy will be there if you do it in a holy place?
What I'd say is any place where you deliberately read Prabhupada's books becomes a holy place.
Okay.
And I do believe in living in a holy place. It's one of the 5 angas, and there's no question, and especially Govardhan, it's so sweet there. There are some austerities, obviously, that go with going to India. Sometimes it's noisy at night. They have weddings at 12 midnight that are the loudest productions on earth and so forth. And devotees do a lot of austerities. It's sleeping on the floor and getting up and showering in one place, one shower or 2 showers for 20 devotees and so forth. But yeah, I think it's really important. But I've felt also in other places where we've very deliberately created a space where we're going to read and there's no distraction to it, that it's almost like a hologram, a spiritual hologram. Prabhupada appears there, and the yajna can take place anywhere. It's such a edifying and very well aligned type of sacrifice to read Prabhupada's books, because they're the prime sound vibration of ISKCON, and there's barely enough time in doing all our services to enter within that. And one of the realizations I have is that when we read deeply and for extended amounts of time in association with devotees anywhere, we begin to realize that Prabhupada's books are unlimited. There's a tendency often to say, okay, why don't we read all these other books? Which is fine with me, but Prabhupada said, assimilate what you have first. And well, good luck assimilating everything Prabhupada wrote, because it's so extensive that it's really hard to enter into. And that's part of the realization that comes with this group reading. We picked Govardhan partly because it's so isolated, and that ashram was developed specifically for those who are preaching and who want to then go into a secluded environment. And because there's this tacit understanding that those who are there specifically to repair to a place where they can get themselves ready to go back out again. It's nice to have that intentionality.
Yeah. Also as part of the spirit, not just I want to absorb for myself, but with the intention to then afterwards share it.
Yeah, I think just the difference. I have a place I normally stay in Vrindavan. And then when we're there, we'll hold some programs in the room. And oftentimes people just come knock on the door, say, hey, how are you doing? They didn't know you were here, and now I heard you're here. It's a lot of distraction, and where are you going to take prasadam and this and that. But when we go to Govardhan, some people call that place a palace. I call it a fortress, because we're going into the fortress, and the reason it's rare is we barely ever get a chance to just sequester ourselves for one reason and one purpose only, and that's to hear Prabhupada's books. And you may say 5 hours a day. Well, that's not very much. You have 24 hours. Well, try it and see how it feels. Because all the arrangements that Gopal Champu Prabhu and his team make for us to do that there, which he's working 24/7 for at least 2 months beforehand to get everything arranged. And then while we're there, he's running interference like a football player to make sure we can get downfield, just so we can stay in that space and hear 5 hours a day. And the rest of the time, we also notice that, you have to do your morning program, you have to do your rounds and everything else. So to get to that 5 hours of pure hearing is something very rare. And just hearing from Prabhupada's books is very rare also. We don't get to do it very much, and we realize it when we're in that environment.
Mm-hmm. Now, maybe some devotees also experience some challenges while going through this, 25 days or more every day, 5 hours reading. Do you sometimes experience? I mean,
sometimes people come out there and they'll come and sit in the room, and after half a session, they leave. They go, if you're not, it's an acquired taste, really, because it's so intense, really, just sitting there reading Prabhupada's books. You do have to develop a taste for it. And I've seen it. People come and they like, is this all you do all day? Is this going to be what the whole thing is? And then they just don't show up for the rest of the thing. Some people come out, so yeah, I'll come, and then an hour, 2 hours, and then they're gone, because it can be like that too.
Any other?
Well, it's kind of like sweet surrender, you just have to take the plunge. You can't hold back. You can't do this type of hearing for such prolonged periods of time, just half-heartedly or just whimsically. It really requires a certain amount of focus and dedication. Otherwise, the mind will take you to a different place, and you'll go like, oh, I think, there's a lot going on in Vrindavan, or let me get out of here, or I need to go shopping, or so it is an exclusive dedication, one-pointed goal. And I think we all benefit from this type of experience, this type of intensity that every devotee has experienced in their devotional service when they were in this, I'm all in. This is what I'm going to be doing. Mm-hmm. And I feel that it's very much required in every type of service, whether you're a book distributor or a preacher or pujari or a cook or a manager, that I'm just going to do this, come hell or high water, no matter what material energy throws at me. I'm going to stick it out, no matter what. And then Krishna just does the magic and just carries you all the way through.
Yeah, I've definitely had the experience where at the beginning of the retreat, I feel like I'm just immersed in Tamagun. And sometimes it's difficult. Yeah, it's hot. The fan sometimes doesn't work. The electricity goes out. Sometimes you have construction going on next door. The monkeys are running all over the place, making a lot of noise. So yeah, there could be some austerity involved, and it's definitely a yagya. But like as Navina Nirada Prabhu was mentioning, once you kind of dial in and say, I'm here to do this, then at some point, then it clicks, and you're like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and then you start to get into the flow of it. So it's just, for me, because I'm in so much Tamagun, especially, then it's just getting through that first. Usually, I see a couple days and just like, and then okay, my mind is right.
Mm-hmm. And do you also, give some introduction and guide the participants a little bit about these possible challenges? Is there some kind of introduction to the retreat? Okay, be aware, this is what's happening now.
We just push them into the pool and say, learn how to know. No, well, the thing is, the devotees have come there with that intention. So I've had the experience that the devotees that have come there with that purpose, they're planning it all year. And as soon as the retreat ends, they're already asking, when's the next one? What are the dates? And they start, So I've had the experience that, the devotees always end up blissful. And then at the end, they don't want to stop. And generally what we've done in years past, we want to meet our goals. So sometimes we end up reading for 6 or 7 hours a day just to finish, the books. And like, we don't want to stop. It's like, and then the last day of the retreat, we're like, no, we want to keep going.
There is a lot of sharing outside of the classroom or outside of the reading room. So there is what you mentioned. It's not like a preparatory introduction. It's more like an ongoing sadhu sangha, where through the 6 kind of loving exchanges, one is sharing one's heart, one is taking counsel, one is receiving prasadam, one is serving prasadam, one is receiving and giving gifts. So that just creates such a welcoming, such a soothing atmosphere that even a newcomer who is not up to speed, you could say, they get really thrown in the deep end sometimes, but they pick up momentum, they pick up speed really fast, and they just stick it out and have amazing realizations and transformations. So it's very wonderful to see that. So I don't think you can really prepare anyone for any type of spiritual intensity, that type of experience, but it's more just being there together and experiencing that sangha, that Vaishnav camaraderie and support and kindness that is very, very life-changing, very touching. It's just a great bond that gets created, that stays with you throughout the year, throughout your life, because of that intensity of the experience that you went together with. It's like your plane crashes somewhere in the Andes, and you go through whatever people go through to make it out alive. Hey, we're a survivor. I'm a survivor of the 80s or of the 90s or. And it's more than just getting through with it. It's really taking shelter of Krishna, taking shelter of the process, and especially taking shelter of the association of the devotees, because Krishna is very kind, but the devotees are even kinder, and they can always encourage us and give us good advice.
Yeah, I can imagine if you listen 5 hours, then naturally have also a desire to talk about what you heard, and that maybe goes on during prasadam, and in the evening you talk to someone.
There's a lot of processing that happens. It's not just like you're just cramming hours in there because we have a quota to reach and we have to run out the clock. But it's Krishna is non different from the Bhagavatam. So Krishna is there present, and that is very much palpable. That is very intensely. A very intense experience, actually, when Krishna manifests himself in his different forms and varieties, and that comes sometimes in the form of tough love. That I every year I realize my limitations in different ways, and then I also see how by the stick of the mercy of the Vaishnavas I can carry over my shortcomings, my lackings, my insecurities, and that's very, very reassuring that the process works. Reading Prabhupada's books together with devotees, it works. And you will not be the same person. And I dare you, try it out, make the experiment, and you will see for yourself.
Krishna Prema Rupa Prabhu, I just following up on what Navina Prabhu is saying, the style of reading, it's not exclusive. In other words, there are many different styles of reading. You can go slow. You can stay on one purport. You can stay on one chapter. You can go deeper readings. This style where we go through, for instance, a whole canto within a month has its special benefits, as the other ones do too, unique, special, in that when you hear each chapter contiguously all the way through, you get a sense for the canto. For instance, when we heard the whole 4th canto, it's a kind of medicine like no other. Prabhupada's emphasis on being careful about mixing with the material energy, you know, the Puranjana story. It really, in its entirety, becomes a mindset for us. We're left with such a deep impression. And in that way, over the years of hearing in this kind of circumstance, I've come to think of the Bhagavatam more and more, as it's mentioned in the 10th canto, as medicine. And I've had this thought about how every psychological condition, every anartha that I have that I think is unique, the Bhagavatam reveals. I'll hear a section, it's like, how did you know that's how, about that attachment? And it's exactly like that. And you can feel in that environment when you're hearing through a whole canto how merciful the Bhagavatam is to untie, sometimes gently and sometimes more forcefully, these various anartas and psychological vitaraga bhaya krodha attachments and aversions we have to the material world and confusions. It undoes them all. And I think in that environment, when we give it enough time, you know, like a Mamcha yo vyavicharina bhakti yogena sevate saguna and samiti taitam brahma bhuya kalpate. I always think of that verse, which means if you just keep doing devotional service and don't stop for any reason, I think of it as a metaphor of a plane taking off. You get more and more speed, and all of a sudden, ooh, we just lifted off there. And it's the same with reading Prabhupada's books continuously over a period of time. I feel that the whole room, I think Gopal Champa Prabhu said it, he gave that idea of a launching pad. You know, we all feel it. Yeah, we just lifted off now. And we're above the three modes of material nature. We're looking at things in a different way. And it reminds me of a brahmachari. This was about, 7 years ago. One of the brahmacharis was in the room and we were listening to one of the cantos, and I heard him on one of the breaks, and he was talking to a senior devotee. And he said to him, I don't know what I was thinking. In other words, before the hearing and after the hearing, he's saying, now I realize how attached I was to a particular perspective, and now it's gone. So he said, I don't know what I was thinking before. I was completely in Maya, and now I'm not. So the transformations take place by that continuous reading.
Yeah, I think that the transformation is really what we're looking for when we do this kind of retreats. Because, when we speak of reading and studying, sometimes it can be understood as just an intellectual exercise, learning shlokas. I know so many. But yeah, what I can hear from your descriptions, it's really that there is a great transformation taking place for all the participants when they go through such a retreat. Maybe do you have
the comments you get from people at the end? How was it? I've heard people say life changing.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you whether you like to share some testimonials of participants or your personal, just so about transformation. What does it do in your heart when you go through such a retreat? Life-changing, transforming, yeah? Any other?
I'll let the others speak because I've just been going on and on.
Personally, it's solidified in my life the importance of Srila Prabhupada's books, and that I've had the opportunity to do these retreats now for several years. Even now, that I don't get, now that I started working, I don't get so much time to sit down and hear, but because that taste is there, like my Guru Maharaj, His Grace Vaishesha Prabhu mentions, it's not a question of time, it's a question of taste. So now on my way to work, I'm listening to Chaitanya Charitamrita audiobook. So I'm hearing for at least 2 hours a day Chaitanya Charitamrita. So you can do it in any situation that you're in. If you develop the taste to hear Prabhupada's books, by attending such retreats, then you'll find the time to do it, and by audiobook or arranging your schedule in such a way, because you'll know it's so important and you'll know you want to get it. It's like I don't feel sane unless I get that time to hear Prabhupada's books.
Yeah, taste comes from practice, and even more so, taste comes from being in the association of devotees who have taste, because just mechanically going through a formulaic exercise doesn't do it, because it's not a mechanical process. It really depends on realization. It depends on that inner alignment, and that rubs off inevitably from the devotees who have that taste. And also Krishna, he's very responsive. He responds to our prayers and to our desperation that I need this, I want this. This is really what I'm here for. This is what brought me to Krishna consciousness. This is what kept me in Krishna consciousness. And this is what pushes me forward in my life. I think everyone deep down in their hearts is looking for that mission, for that sense of purpose, even if we might not want to admit it, because mission and has a lot of connotations nowadays, expectations, etc. Well, everyone is actually looking for purpose, not just, even more than taste, like something that gives me a sense of identity, a sense of who am I, and what's my actual purpose in this world is to hear and chant about Krishna and tell others about Krishna. And that's Lord Chaitanya's formula: chant Hare Krishna and teach others how to chant Hare Krishna. That's what he exemplified in his own life, and what Srila Prabhupada gave us. That's why he created this ISKCON movement. So we have this opportunity to hear and chant and tell others about Krishna. And I feel very blessed. I feel very fortunate.
Thank you. I think it's a very wonderful. Yeah,
I just want to add two very specific points, because I like getting specific. Just from last year's reading, there are many points that impressed me from the fourth canto, but here are two that are life-changing, transformational for me. Hearing Prithu Maharaj's speech to his citizens, he talks about, don't praise me because I haven't done anything yet. And this is a kind of a false praise. He wouldn't accept it. The integrity of that, it was so impressive. And then the way he addressed his citizens as a servant leader. He's God. He's a Shaktivesh avatar, and he's appeared there to show by example. And then his leadership and the way he presented is so reminiscent of the way Prabhupada presented also. So, I'm your servant. I've come here to serve you. It's so edifying to hear that from a leader, and especially the avatars who come and say, this is how you lead. Here's the example of someone who's a leader, a servant leader. So that's one point. I just think of the integrity and the humility of Prithu Maharaj. And then the other part is when Prachinabhari, actually Puranjana, because Narada is telling the story to Prachinabhari, and he tells about how this personality is looking for a place to enjoy. And he looks everywhere, and he comes to the Bharatvarsha, and then he finds this park. And in the park, plot thickens, he sees a young woman who's attractive, and the birds are singing and the flowers are blooming, and then boy meets girl. And in that conversation, it's so revealing that he says to her, like, where are you from? She says, I don't know. I don't know where I came from. All I know is I'm here right now. And that scenario keeps running through my head, the tendency of the mind to find some place to enjoy in the material world. Male, female attraction. We're going to find a place, a nest, and we're going to be happy forever. The Bhagavatam just so subtly points out to you, like, look, here's what you look like when you're doing that. And you can just look in from above in a safe place. You're sitting there hearing, and secretly you're going like, yeah, I get it. That's me. Thanks, Narada Muni, for giving me this insight. And then there's an inoculation that takes place, because every time I notice my mind going to anything like that, that pastime comes into my mind and goes, okay, yeah, that's not going anywhere, or it is going somewhere, but not where you want to go. And that is life-changing. Nobody gets that in the material world. And you can only get it from the Bhagavatam, because that's the medicine. And that's what it's meant to do. Very specifically taking every anartha that we have and showing us here's what you look like, here's what the result is, and you don't want to do it anymore.
Beautiful. I think this is a wonderful point to slowly come to an end of this discussion. Thank you so much. I think we got a lot of inspiration and inputs, and I hope the listeners, some of them will be inspired to also organize such a reading retreats. I think we got a lot of good inputs. We heard about the 80%, 20%, like we should mainly hear. It's important to have seniors who are there to guide the whole session also. Should be a place where you can really focus on it, and the participants should be, they should know what they're getting into it. It should be some commitment should be there. So I think we got a lot of good inputs from all of you on if some of the devotees like to start such reading retreats. And I hope we see more and more devotees coming together and absorbing themselves in reading Prabhupada's books. I don't know, any final words from everyone?
I just say that.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Srila Prabhupada mentioned that formerly in traditional culture, people would meet in the morning and in the evening, and they would hear from the Bhagavatam, and they would hear from the Ramayana and from the Gita. And it was just part of the culture. It's just what people would do. Because what else is life meant for? I mean, what do you want to do? Work and die? I mean, that's nothing to write home about. It's nothing glorious. So, and we have seen, as you've mentioned, in different places, devotees are taking it up. Here in Trinidad, the devotees have a morning and evening 1 hour session where they read Prabhupada's books together, and this can grow exponentially. This can, of course, ideal is if you have the chance to be in person and to experience that association. It's life-changing. There is nothing less than that. I don't want it to sound cliche, but I can honestly admit it changed my life, because there's a lot of curveballs. I mean, Kali Yuga, it's a rocky road. There's a lot of bumps, and then to take full shelter of that boat of the instructions of Srila Prabhupada is just such a solace. It's just such a guiding light, such a beacon that there's nothing that compares to it. And I think taste is really what we're all looking for. Yes, mission and purpose and dedication and austerity, but ultimately we do what we do because we have a taste for it. So, and that taste comes out when we do that in the association of devotees to please Guru and Krishna.
Champu Prabhu, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just appreciating today and coming together to hear more. I mean, it made me more enthusiastic to want to read more. And yeah, just thinking that, in conclusion, just thinking about the many times Srila Prabhupada says in his books to read his books, and how, looking back in my own life, how Srila Prabhupada's books have been the GPS, and how no matter what situation of life we're in, no matter what ashram we're in, reading Prabhupada's books should be the center, the fixture. We have that saying, books are the basis. So if we don't have a strong foundation of Prabhupada's books, then it's like, where are we going? I just, this one purport from the CC comes to mind where Prabhupada says, if you don't read the books that I have written, and he mentions Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, then after some time you simply eat, sleep, and fall down. So of course we don't desire that for any devotee, and we see, and I can say in my life, if there's been periods where I'm not reading Prabhupada's books, then stuff gets weird. So reading Prabhupada's books definitely is the you can say the strength and the foundation for us in ISKCON.
Thank you. We give the last word to Vaisheshika Prabhu.
Do the best you can with what you have right now. We may talk about a grandiose plan or going to Govardhan, and that's well and good, and I like it. And I feel fortunate that I'm able to do it. But it doesn't mean that you can't get everything you need in the regular program that is at your temple right now. The main thing is just take full advantage of it. Go to the classes. When there's a Bhagavatam class, even if it's at a half an hour, go there and really be present and lean into it. Lean into every word. And if there's a Bhagavad Gita class at night, go to that too. There's so much. I mean, not just so much. There's everything necessary available in what we already have. It's just a matter of taking full advantage of it. I know people who have been very busy in their lives and they haven't been able to attend to everything, but they were so hungry for it that they took advantage of what they could do and they got everything out of it. So that's my main advice, is just really be there present and be greedy for hearing Prabhupada's books, because it is a mainstay, as Navina Prabhu and Gopal Prabhu just mentioned. And finally, I thank you very much for what you're doing, Krishna Prema Rupa Prabhu, assembling devotees to talk about the importance of reading Prabhupada's books and so forth. Your service is so important and so much needed, and you do such a great job of it. I feel really honored to have been part of this discussion today, and please keep up the great work. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your appreciation. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Gaur Premanande Haribol. See you all soon at Govardhan.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.